Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to this public meeting of the New York City Rent Guidelines Board. This is the last meeting in a series of public meetings and hearings to determine renewal lease adjustments for rent-stabilized housing units in New York City, with leases commencing or being renewed on or after October 1, 2018, and on or before September 30th, 2019. I will now take roll call. Please respond if present. Hillary Bottin?
Present.
Rodrigo Camarena?
Present.
Shayla Garcia?
Present.
Leah Goodridge?
President, ready to fight!
Cecilia Hosa?
Present.
Angela Pinsky?
Present.
David Reese?
Present.
Scott Walsh?
Present.
Kathleen Roberts present. Let the record show that we have a quorum. Before we begin the voting process, I want to make a few comments about this evening's proceedings. I'd like to thank the hundreds of New Yorkers, tenants, owners, members of advocacy groups, and public officials, including all of you here tonight, and especially those who testified to their personal experiences at our 5 public hearings, for participating in the process of determining rent adjustments for New York's 1 million rent-stabilized apartments. We recognize and deeply appreciate your critical contribution to the public conversation about affordable housing and to our decision-making process. Second, I'd like to recognize and thank the staff members of the RGB for their exceptional research and analysis and coordination of our public hearings. Their professionalism and objectivity is essential to ensuring that the board's decisions are fully and accurately informed. And third, I'd like to recognize and thank all of my fellow board members for their support, public service, and dedication to a difficult task. Although we may not agree on specific rent adjustments, every member of this board is committed to the goal of creating and maintaining affordable housing in New York City. At this point, I'd like to describe how the voting process is going to take place. First of all, we're going to start with the vote with respect to rent adjustments for hotels. That will be followed by a vote on rent adjustments for apartments and lofts. Voting will take place by the presentation of proposals by members of the board. In order to pass, a proposal needs at least 5 yes votes. The opportunity to make the first proposal alternates each year between owner and tenant members. This year, the first proposal will be made by the owner members. If that proposal receives fewer than 5 votes, the next proposal will be made by the tenant members. If that proposal receives fewer than 5 votes, the next proposal will be made by me as a public member and chair. If that proposal receives fewer than 5 votes, I will entertain further proposals until a proposal receives at least 5 votes. I urge you to allow this process to go forward so that each member of the board can be heard and so that members of the audience can hear the proceedings. At this point, we're going to proceed with the vote on hotel rent adjustments, and the first proposal will come from the owner members.
I move to adopt the final language of Proposal 2 for Hotel Order. I move to adopt the final language of Proposal 2 for Hotel Order Number 48 that was circulated to the members of the board and posted on the RGB website on June 22nd. And I further move to adopt the explanatory statement and findings for Hotel Order Number 48 substantially in the form submitted by staff to the board as of June 22nd, 2018, and to be modified by the RGB staff after this meeting to reflect the adopted rental adjustments. A summary of Hotel Proposal 2 is as follows. Residential Class A apartment hotels, 2%. Lodging houses, 2%. Rooming houses, 2%. Class B hotels, 2%. Single room occupancy buildings, 2%.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? No discussion, then we'll proceed to vote. Hillary Botín,
No.
Rodrigo Camarena,
No.
Shayla Garcia,
No.
Leah Goodridge,
No.
Cecilia Hosa,
No.
Angela Pinsky,
Yes.
David Reese,
No.
Scott Walsh,
Yes.
Kathleen Roberts, no. The motion fails by a vote of 7-2.
Okay.
Now we'll move to a proposal by the tenants.
Thank you all for coming tonight. We heard all of your many testimonies calling not only for a rent freeze for tenants, but also for hotel tenants. And my proposal is actually just reflecting what we heard so many tenants come and tell this board about their hardship. Hotels are actually what we've seen happen. We don't want to see happen what happened in hotels to rent stabilized housing. There are barely any left. They're constantly under attack, and many of those tenants don't know they're actually rent regulated. And that is why I'm making a motion to adopt proposal number 4. Proposal number 4 and all the explanatory statements and findings for order 48. That is a 0% increase for residential class A.
Just a moment, she needs to finish her proposal. Give her a chance to finish the proposal, please.
So there are 4 other categories I'm going to mention. So 0% for lodging houses, 0% for rooming houses, 0% for Class B hotels, 0% for single room occupancy buildings, and no vacancy is allowed under this order.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this motion? No discussion. Then we'll proceed to a vote. Hillary Botín,
Yes.
Rodrigo Camarena,
Yes.
Shayla Garcia,
Yes.
Leah Goodridge,
Yes.
Cecilia Hosa,
Yes.
Angela Pinsky,
No.
David Reese,
Yes.
Scott Walsh,
No.
Kathleen Roberts, yes. The motion passes by a vote of 7-2. We will now move to the proposals for apartments and lofts. The first proposal will come from the owners.
I move to adopt the final language of Proposal 5 of the Apartment and Loft Order Number 50 that was circulated to the members of the board and posted on the RGB website on June 22nd, and I further move to adopt the explanatory statement and findings for Apartment and Loft Order Number 50 substantially in the form submitted by the staff to the board as of June 22nd, 2018, and to be modified by the RGB staff after this meeting to reflect the adopted rental adjustments. A summary of Proposal 5 is as follows. Apartments, 1-year renewal lease 2%, 2-year renewal lease 4%, sublet allowance 10%. No vacancy allowance is permitted as except as provided by the Rent Regulation Reform Act of 1997 and the Rent Act of 2015. For lofts, 1 year rent increase period 2%, 2 year increase period 4%. No vacancy allowance is permitted under this order. Special guideline 39% above the maximum base rent.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? No discussion. Then we'll proceed to a vote. This is on proposal number 5. Hillary Bochin?
No.
Rodrigo Camarena?
No.
Shayla Garcia?
No.
Leah Goodrich?
No.
Cecilia Hosa?
No.
Angela Pinsky?
Yes.
David Reese?
No.
Scott Walsh?
Yes.
Kathleen Roberts? No. We will now proceed to the proposal from the tenants. We're proceeding to the proposal from the tenant members.
I'm here tonight to advocate for a rent freeze on behalf of New York City tenants. For the last 3 months, this board has read the reports, we've listened to testimony after testimony, and my proposal tonight is that we choose people over profits. So let's talk about numbers, since that seems to be the fixation. 63,000 people are sleeping in homeless shelters every night. We had 2 years of a rent freeze, but how many years did we have of high rent increases, many of which were based on inflated figures? Over 10 years. So compare 10 years of mistakes for 2 years of correction. Does that seem to add up to you? The landlord's main argument has been that another rent freeze will bankrupt them. So exactly how much did landlords make during the rent freeze? Well, can we guess? They made over $312,000. That is per landlord. That is after maintenance expenses are taken out. How much did landlords make before the rent freeze? $296,000. So you know what the argument is? They didn't make enough profit. So let's see who has what at stake. For the last couple of months, for 4 boroughs, that's how many boroughs this board held hearings in this year. How many tenants came out to testify at those hearings? How many do you think? 262 tenants. How many owners came out to testify? 12. Why aren't there more landlords here tonight? Are there any landlords here tonight? You know why so many aren't here? Because they know that they're going to get their profits. So who has what at stake? The people make this city. The people make New York City. So my vote is for you. Our vote is for the tenants struggling to make ends meet if the rent goes up. The tenants who have to decide, should I buy a Metro card or should I pay my rent? Should I buy food for my child or should I pay my rent? My vote is for Joy Noel, the 85-year-old woman in Brooklyn who's a rent-stabilized tenant who was evicted and died homeless. My vote is for Dasani The 11-year-old girl who was featured in the New York Times article struggling with homelessness with her family. That's who our vote is for. And our vote is for all of the people lined up at Bronx Housing Court who have to fight the struggle to fight eviction. Our vote is for the lady on the train who made an announcement that we all know too well. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry to interrupt, but can you please help? I'm homeless. Our vote is for the man sleeping outside of Cooper Union right now without a home. So I'm asking you, and I'm asking my fellow board members, are we going to make a vote tonight for people, or are we going to make a vote tonight for profits? I further move to adopt the explanatory statements and findings for apartment and loft order 50. A summary of my proposal 10 is as follows. For 1-year renewal leases, 0%. For 2-year renewal leases, 2%, a subset allowance of 10%. No vacancy allowance permitted. For lofts, the same thing.
Which proposal? Excuse me, I didn't hear you, Leah.
Proposal number 10. And for the special guideline, 39% above the maximum base rent. So again, we're voting for what? And when do we want it?
Is there a second to the motion? Do we have a second to the motion?
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? No discussion. Then we'll proceed to vote. This is proposal number 10. Hillary Bochin.
No.
Rodrigo Camarena.
For the most vulnerable, for the displaced, for fairness, I vote yes.
Shayla Garcia.
For all of the folks who testified about how they were struggling and all of the income issues that you're having, I vote yes.
Leah Goodridge.
Yes.
Cecilia Hosa.
No.
Angela Pinsky.
No?
David Reese.
No.
Scott Walsh.
No.
Kathleen Roberts, no. The motion fails by a vote of 3 to 6. We're going to move now to the proposal by public member. In light of the commotion in the hall, I ask that my written statement be incorporated into the transcript of these proceedings and made part of the public record. I move to adopt the final language of Proposal 2 of Apartment and Loft Order Number 50 that was circulated to the members of the board and posted on the RGB website on June 22nd. And I further move to adopt the explanatory statement and findings for Apartment and Loft Order Number 50 substantially in the form submitted by staff to the board as of June 22nd, 2018, and to be modified by the RGB staff after this meeting to reflect the adopted rental adjustments. A summary of Proposal 2 is as follows. Apartments, 1-year renewal lease, 1.5%. 2-year renewal lease, 2.5%. Sublet allowance of 10%. No vacancy allowance is permitted except as provided by the Rent Regulation Reform Act of 1997 and the Rent Act of 2015. Lofts, 1-year increase, period 1.5%, 2-year increase, period 2.5%. No vacancy allowance is permitted under this order. Special guideline, 39% above the maximum base rent. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion? We'll now proceed to vote. Hillary Bottine.
Yes.
Rodrigo Camarena.
No.
Shayla Garcia. Shayla Garcia?
The rent is too damn high already. No.
Leah Goodrich.
Rent freeze now. No.
Cecilia Hosa.
Yes.
Angela Pinsky.
I would like to pass on my vote at this time.
David Reese.
Yes.
Scott Walsh.
Yes.
Kathleen Roberts, yes. Angela Pinsky. Are you abstaining or are you passing?
I vote no.
The motion passes by a vote of 5-4. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
We are adjourned.